Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be graphing cubic functions and you will be able to do 5.7. Today students will be able to graph cubic functions. And so for the first graph, I just have the mother graph, y equals x cubed. And so I'm going to create a table and I'm going to put x and y. The values for x are going to be 0 in the middle, then go up 1, 2, and down is -1, -2. And so what this means is that if x is these values, what will be the value for y? And so we're going to replace y is equals to x cubed, but the value for x is 2 cubed. Whenever you have 2 to the third power, it doesn't mean 2 times 3. It means 2 times 2 times 2. It just tells me how many times I'm going to multiply by itself this base. And so 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. For the next one, it's 1 cubed. 1 times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1. Y is equals to the value of x is 0. 0 cubed means 0 times 0 times 0, which is 0. Y is equals to -1 cubed. We put it between parentheses because it's negative. And so -1 times -1 is +1 times -1 will be -1. So again, -1 times -1 times -1. Negative times negative becomes positive, but then that positive times negative becomes negative. Okay, so -1. Y is equals to -2 cubed. -2 times -2 is +4. +4 times -2 is -8. And so now that we have our values for x and y, we just start graphing. You can start from here or you can start from the middle. This is going to be at our origin, 0, 0. And then you can start graphing up. +1, +1, positive on x. +1 on x, +1 on y is right there. And then this one is +2, +8. +2 for x, +8 for y is around here. Then for the other side is -1, -1, -1 on x, -1 on y, and then -2, -8, -2 on x, -8 on y around here, and then the graph will go something like this. So that's my graph, that's the mother graph. For the next one, if our mother graph is at 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 8, -1, -1, and -2, -8, that's our mother graph. If we have a negative, it means a mirror or reflection. When it's outside of a parenthesis, that means that whatever it's above the x-axis is going to reflect. So the reflection is on the x-axis. This point will stay the same. This reflects over here. This goes up. And then we have -8. So it's basically this one reflects down here. And this point will reflect up here. So our graph should be something like this. Now let's do it with the table. Okay, for the values of x, we're going to choose the same 0, 1, 2, -1, -2. And so again, we're going to put y is equals to, y is equals to -x cubed. We bring down the negative and then we substitute the 2 right here. Okay, don't get rid of this negative, just bring it down. Replace the x with 2 to the third power. And that means this will just go over here. And so 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So again, because it's not between parentheses, that's why it's only copying or bringing over the negative. And this is what is going to be raised to the third power. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2, 8. And this negative comes from here. So it's negative 8. For the next one, bring down the negative and 1 cubed. Bring over the negative. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And some people will do this when they replace the x so that they see that this is what it's going to be raised to the third power. Okay? So negative 1 in here. Y is equals 2. Bring over the negative. 0 to the third power. And so bring over the negative. 0 times 0 times 0 is 0. And 0 is not positive, is not negative, is neutral. So we're just going to put 0. For this one, bring over or bring down the negative. Then put between parentheses the negative 1 when you substitute the x. And that's cubed. This is the first part that we do because some people want to do, oh, negative times negative is positive. First, you have to raise negative 1 to the third power. And so bring over the negative. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Times negative 1 is negative 1. And now you're able to multiply. Negative times negative is positive 1. Y is equals to, bring over the negative. Then put between parentheses negative 2 cubed. Bring over the negative. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Times negative 2 is negative 8. We multiply the signs. Negative times negative is positive 8. And now let's check to make sure that we got the same thing with our mother graph. So 2 negative 8 is 2 negative 8. 1 negative 1, 1 negative 1 is right there. 0, 0 stay the same. Negative 1, 1, negative 1 on x, positive 1 on y. And negative 2, positive 8, negative 2, positive 8 is right there. So yeah, it matches. Before I go on to number 3, I would like to show you that number 9, we're going to do a mix of several transformations. So if you want to forward to that one or just wait. And the other ones are just going to be 1 or 2 transformations. That one has, number 9 has 1, 2, 3, 4 transformations. So, okay, so in here, when you only have x and you're not adding or subtracting anything, you can just put 0, 1, 2, negative 1, negative 2 below the 0. So our mother graph will be right here. So that's our mother graph. When we have a negative inside, I said, oh, it's like a mirror inside of your house. The other was a mirror outside in the outdoors. So you have to see the reflection on the lake. In here, it's inside. The reflection is on the wall. So on Y. Okay, so this is a reflection or mirror. Reflection. So when the negative is inside, it's a reflection on Y. When it's outside, it's a reflection on X. And so the 0, 0 stays at the same place. But in here, it reflects right here. This point will reflect right here, more or less. And this one will reflect on the other side of the y-axis. And this is the same right here. So that's using our mother graph to do our sketch, okay? Now let's do the table. So in here, we have y is equals to negative x cubed. So it's going to be y is equals to negative, substitute the 2, and everything to the third power. So negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 becomes negative 8, because remember, so negative 2 times negative 2 is positive, times negative 2 is negative, okay? Y is equals to, bring down the negative, substitute the x by 1, and negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1, times negative 1 is negative 1. Y is equals to negative 0 cubed. Negative times negative times negative becomes negative. 0 times 0 times 0 is 0, but remember that 0 is neutral. The next one is, bring down the negative, substitute x with negative 1 cubed. In here, whatever we are, in here first we're going to multiply the sign, so negative times negative becomes positive 1, and then bring over the exponent, and 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. For the next one, bring down the negative, substitute x with negative 2, and then remember that inside of the parentheses first we multiply the sign, so negative times negative becomes positive 2 cubed. You can put the parentheses or not, it's up to you. And 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. And so 2 negative 8 is 2 negative 8. 1 negative 1, positive 1, negative 1, 0, 0 is right there. Negative 1, 1, negative 1 on x, 1 on y, and negative 2, 8, negative 2, positive 8. I want you to notice how a reflection inside or outside of the parentheses in this case, for different reasons, but you end up getting the same. A reflection outside, this x went down here, but on this one, this x went to the other side. At the end, you end up with the same graph for a reflection, either outside or inside of the parentheses. Okay, for number 4, I already have the mother graph and the table ready. Whenever we have a negative inside to the left of x, that's a reflection again inside the house. The mirror is on the wall. This is the mirror. So my graph goes to the other side. But then I also have a negative outside, means that I'm going to also reflect on x. So every point is going to reflect on y and then on x. So this point goes to the other side, is right here, but then because of the negative outside, it goes down here. This point will go to this side and then reflect on x right here. And the point that was here, it will reflect, because of this negative, it reflects on y right here. And then because of the negative outside, it reflects on x right here. And this point that was here before I put the new blue point, it's going to reflect on the y axis right here. But then it also reflects on x, so right here. Notice how, because of the negative and the double reflection, my graph ends up being exactly where it started. And it's not the same point, right? The point that was here went down here. And the point that was down here goes here, but at the end, you end up with the same graph when you have this for the cubic. Okay, now let's do it with the equation and table. So y is equals to negative, bring down the negative, and substitute the x. X is 2 cubed. In here, be careful, don't do negative times negative is positive. No, first is exponent and then the multiplication. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Times negative 2 is negative 8. So bring over this negative, and the result of this is negative 8 we multiply that, and negative times negative, now because we don't have exponents, we can multiply the sign. So negative times negative is positive 8. See how 2, 8 is exactly at the same place? Y is equals to negative from here, and then the x is a 1 cubed. Again, raise this to the third power first, just bring the negative over. Negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Multiply, negative times negative is positive 1. For y is equals to negative, bring also the negative 0, and to the third power, negative 0 times negative 0 times negative 0 is negative 0. But again, 0 is not even, doesn't have a sign, so it should be neutral. And then negative 0 again, but we can't have, so it's just 0. Or you can just from over there put 0. Y is equals to negative. Then you have the negative in here. Substitute the x, negative 1. This is going to be very interesting. And then we multiply this, negative times negative. Why? Because we, according to PEMDAS, parenthesis comes first. And inside of the parenthesis, you have a multiplication of signs. So negative times negative is positive 1. So bring over that negative. This becomes positive 1 cubed. And then 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So bring over the negative. And from here, I get positive 1, which is just ends up being negative because of the negative outside. Y is equals to, bring this negative over, bring this over. You're just substituting x with that. Okay, this is not the negative of this right here. This is this one right here. Then substitute x with this value. And this become brackets. Actually, we want to use brackets, or you can just use a dot. And cubed. And so negative times negative is positive 2. Remember that we multiply that first. If it gets confusing, just put the parentheses and put negative. So this and this will be the same thing. Again, this is the negative from here. This is this sign. And you're multiplying times the value of x. X is negative 2. And then just bring over the cube. So again, we multiply whatever is inside first. The other parts we just bring over. So negative times negative is positive 2 and cubed. And then 2 times 2, remember that this goes first. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Bring over the negative and just put 8. And so it's negative 8 in here. Okay, so depending on what you want to do, you can use the brackets or the little dots, so you don't have to use brackets, you just use parentheses. And so 2, 8 is right there. 1, 1 is right there. 0, 0 is right here. Negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. Negative 2, negative 8, negative 2, negative 8. So same thing. Okay, so number 5 is horizontal compression. And what that means is that it's just going to squish. Okay, so we'll see y is equals to 2 times the value of x. We put 2 here and cube that. 2 times 2, remember that we do parentheses first. So 2 times 2 is 4 cubed. And 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Most definitely it will not fit in our graph. For the next one, y is equals to 2 times the value of x, which is 1. Cube that. Do parentheses first. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. For the next one is 2 times 0, cube that, and 2 times 0 is 0 cubed, which is 0. The next one is 2 times -1, and cube that. 2 times -1 is -2 to the third power. -2 times -2 is positive, times -2 is -8. Again, 2 times the value of x, which is -2, cubed. 2 times -2 is -4. Cube that, and we get negative, because negative times negative is positive, times negative is negative 64. And the reason for which I didn't do the compression is because we know that it's going to get close to y, but we can't see really how close. But now that we have the graph, we put 0, 0. It's right there. 1, 8. Look how close that is. 1, 8 gets here. And then we can't even graph 64 because it's so far away. Same thing, -1, -8, -1, -8 is right here. And so this right here, it's, oh, wow, right there. Super compressed. So we'll only are able to graph 3 points. For number 6, I already have the mother graph. And if you saw the video, the 2 videos before this one, you will recall that whenever we're subtracting or adding inside of the symbols, in this case is the parentheses, sometimes it's the absolute value, whichever it is. But if you're subtracting or adding inside, that's some transformation or translation, I should say, translation on x. But not only that, this is related to x, and it moves 3 spaces, but not to the negatives. Okay, when you're subtracting, it goes the opposite. Only if it's inside, it goes opposite. So it's going to go to the right. So my new graph should be 3 spaces to the right, right here. Compared to the mother graph, remember that is these points, and then this one is also 3 spaces, so around there, 3 spaces around there. So that's where my graph should be. Okay, we'll check with the table and find those values. But how do I choose my values for x? Well, if it's subtracting 3, you want to put that's for the vertex or the point on the origin. You just put +3, the opposite of that. Okay, and so what would we in here? What comes before 3? 2 and 1. So 2 and 1. What comes after 3? 4 and 5. So again, you want to choose those values based on whatever is in here. What you can also do is put x minus 3 equals 0, because in here you had 0, you had 1, and you had 2. And then just equal it to that, just like we did in the previous video. And it's getting really messy here. Sorry about that. Okay, so now let's start replacing our values in here. So y is equals to 5 minus 3 cubed. 5 minus 3 is 2 cubed. And 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. For the next one, we have 4 minus 3 cubed. 4 minus 3 is 1 cubed. And 1 to the third power is 1. 1 times 1 and times 1. The next one is 3. 3 minus 3 is to the third power. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 cubed is 0. You can see that I'm moving a little faster, but you get the idea. 2 minus 3 cubed. 2 minus 3 is -1, so we put it between parentheses to the third power, and -1 times -1 is +1 times -1 is -1. 1 minus 3 cubed. 1 minus 3 is -2 cubed. And -2 times -2 is +4 times -2 is -8. So let's check. 5, 8. 5 on X, 8 on Y. 4, 1. 4 on X, 1 on Y. 3, 0. 3 zeros right there. 2, -1. 2, -1. And 1, -8. So they match. Again, ask your teacher if they want to see the table or if you can just do the transformation. Okay, in here we don't have addition or subtraction. That's why I decided to give you 0, 1, 2, -1, -2. Okay, and the mother graph right there. So in here we have a reflection. It's inside, so it's on Y, because inside is you're inside of the house. Inside of the house, the mirror is on the wall. Okay, the 3, it's horizontal, because it's inside is a horizontal compression. If the multiplication of 3 was outside, then that will be a vertical stretch. Both of them end up being closer to Y. Okay, horizontal compression. So I know that this reflection is going to bring me this point over here, but then it's going to be compressed. So something like this, okay? Very close to Y. And then this point goes here, so but close to Y because of the 3. Now let's do the table, since this is a little bit more difficult to see exactly where it goes. Y is equals 2, bring down the -3, substitute the X with 2, and cube that. So -3 times 2 is -6. -6 times -6 is +36, times -6 is -216. So negative times negative is positive, positive times negative is negative. -216, not close to be able to graph. So again, it's -3 times the value of X, which is 1, cube that. -3 times 1 is -3. Cube that. -3 times -3 is +9. +9 times -3 is -27. The next one, -3 times 0. -3 times 0 is just 0. Again, let's not do the -0. Cubed is 0. And Y is equals to -3 times the value of X, which is -1, cubed. -1 times -1 is +3, cubed, which is +27. And the last one, -3 times -2, the value of X. -3 times -2 is +6, cubed, which is +216. And you will see that in here it will be super difficult to really graph, because for 2, the Y value is 216, -216. 27 is not in here, and so we only have 0, but we know that it's going to be 1, -27. So 1, -27 is going to be somewhere down there. Okay, so our graph is going to probably go very close. We can't really see where, but that's how it goes. And for this one, negative 127, negative 127 is all the way over there. So we'll try to get to it, but guess what? We ran out of space, so our graph is somewhat like that. And so again, what happened? This point reflected on Y, and then it got compressed. Same for this, and for this one, it got reflected in here and compressed. And for this one, the same thing, got here and compressed. For this point, reflection on Y, but then compressed. Okay. Let's do the mother graph. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 8. Negative 1, negative 1, negative 2, negative 8. That's my mother graph. And we learned that if it's going plus 2, it goes to the negatives. It moves on X because it's inside of the parentheses. It moves on X and the opposite direction of what we have in here. So that means that it's moving 2 spaces. It's right there. And this one the same, or the entire graph basically. So once you find this one, you can just guide yourself to have the other ones without having to count 1, 2, 1, 2. So our graph should go by there. How do I find the values of X? Just make this expression. So X plus 2 equals 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. X is going to be 0. So that's how you can find that one. Or you can just say, oh, since I have positive 2, that means it's going to move to the left, and that's going to be negative 2. And then I just choose the 2 on the left, so negative 3, negative 4, and negative 1, 0. Just see, oh, I'm adding 2. That means it's going to be negative 2, 2 above that, and 2 below that. Okay. Find Y. Y is equals to X plus 2 cubed. Y is equals to, I substitute 0 plus 2 cubed. 0 plus 2 is 2 cubed equals 8. For the next one, I substitute negative 1 plus 2 cubed. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Cubed gives me 1. The next one is negative 2 plus 2 cubed. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Cubed gives me 0. The next one is negative 3 plus 2 cubed. I keep it inside the parentheses. Negative 3 plus 2 is going to be negative 1 cubed. And negative 1 times negative 1 is positive, times negative is negative 1. The next one is negative 4 plus 2 cubed. And we have negative 2 cubed. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, times negative 2 is negative 8. And let's check. 0, 8, 0, 8 is right there. Negative 1, 1, negative 1, 1 is right there. Negative 2, 0, negative 2, 0 is right there. Negative 3, negative 1, negative 3, negative 1 is right there. Negative 4, negative 8, negative 4, negative 8 is right there. This is the last one. I know you've been waiting for it. And also, I know it was a little confusing of how to choose your X values in the last one. But again, let me just show you how to find those values. Also, by using just the mother graph, I'll do it in a separate graph so that we don't do both for this one. But let me show you how to find those X values. It's just based on whatever is inside of the parentheses. If we're adding 3, the opposite is negative 3. Okay? Or basically, you just put X plus 3 equals, and then you will want to put 0 in there. Subtract 3 from both sides, and x is equals to negative 3. So basically just whatever is inside of the parentheses equal to 0, that will be the value for this middle term. And that's for the cubic, okay? So negative 3 is right there. What comes before that? Negative 4 and negative 5. So those are the values that you're going to choose here. Go back to the negative 3. What goes after negative 3? Well, it's negative 2 and negative 1. Okay, keep them in order to make it easier for you. And that's how you choose your values for x. So now let's start finding what the values for y will be. So y is equals to negative 2 times the value of x, which is negative 1 plus 3 cubed plus 1. And according to PEMDAS, I guess I should have written it before, but in here we have several operations. That's why I want to keep it in order. PEMDAS says do whatever is inside of the parentheses first. And so I'm going to go down here. Negative 2 times negative 1 plus 3 is positive 2 cubed plus 1. After parentheses, you do the exponents. That means that you're going to be doing this right here. So bring the rest down, negative 2, and then 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, and bring down plus 1. Then after the exponents comes multiplication and division, whichever comes first. In this case, we only have multiplication. Negative 2 times positive 8 is negative 16 plus 1, and then finally negative 16 plus 1 is negative 15. So for this one is negative 15. For the next one, we're going to do negative 2. Y equals negative 2 times the value of x, which is negative 2 plus 3 cubed plus 1. Negative 2, do the parentheses first. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1 cubed plus 1. Negative 2. After that, you do the exponent. So bring down the negative 2, and then 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 plus 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2 plus 1, which gives me negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. For the next one, we have negative 3. So y is equals to negative 2. You can see. Negative 2 times, we substitute negative 3 in there. Negative 3 plus 3 cubed plus 1. Okay, now that we have it, let's bring it down. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0 cubed plus 1. Negative 2, 0 cubed is 0 plus 1. Anything multiplied times 0 is 0 plus 1 gives me 1. Okay, so that goes right there. And let me see where else, because I put this one right here. Let me squish it in here. Y is equals to negative 2 times the value of x, which is negative 4 plus 3 cubed plus 1. Y is equals to, bring down the negative 2. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1 cubed plus 1. And then remember to do the exponent first. Bring down the negative 2. And here we get negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 becomes, remember that the first 2 is positive, but then times the third one is negative. So you're multiplying times that negative 1. And bring down plus 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Bring down plus 1. And that gives me positive 3. And finally, y is equals to negative 2 times the value of x. I'm going to guide myself with that. Negative 5 plus 3 cubed plus 1. And so do the parentheses first. So negative 2, negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2 cubed plus 1. Negative 2 times, in here, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 times negative 2 is -8 plus 1. And then we get -2 times -8 is positive 16 plus 1 is positive 17, which we won't be able to graph because we don't have that many spaces. Okay, now that we have the table, we can graph -1, -15, -1, -15 is way down there, so we cannot graph it. -2, -1, -2, -1 is right here. Then -3, 1, -3, positive 1 is right there. -4, 3, -4, positive 3 is right there. And -5, -5, 17, -5, positive 17, we cannot even see. So our graph goes something like this. So let's go to let's do this graph with the mother graph only. Let me just tell you, this is a mirror or reflection. Where? On X. That means that whatever is on top goes to the bottom. That's why this point went down. The 2 made a stretch. So instead of going like this, 1, 1, it goes twice. Okay, a vertical stretch. Plus 3, make it go to the left. So the center moved 3 spaces to the left. And then this plus 1 made it move 1 space up. So 1, 2, 3 for the positive 3 inside, and then 1. So this point goes 3 spaces to the left, 1 up. It vertical stretches. That's why instead of going closer, 1, 1, it's 1, 2 spaces. And this is the mirror, which makes it flip on X. Okay, again, this is my mother graph. Just let's look at it a little cleaner to see if it makes sense. My mother graph. Let's do the times 2 first. This is a vertical stretch. And it's twice. So this point is going to go twice as high. And this is twice. So something like that. Okay. And this will go even lower. So twice as that will be -16. Okay. But then that's not the real one because we still need to move the mirror. So this point is going to mirror right here. Instead of going 1, 2, it's going to be 1, -2. So right here. And so right here, that's for the second movement, which is reflection on X. Because it's outside, you reflect outside in the lake, not inside in the mirror of the wall. Okay, so this one, which stretched vertically, reflects over here, right there. But then it says move this vertex, move it 3 spaces to the left. Remember that if it's inside, you move it to the opposite. 3 spaces left, and also this one follows. It's always on Y, but if it's positive, it goes up. If it was negative, it would have gone down. So now these 3 points, we're going to move them 3 spaces left and 1 up. So this one, 1, 2, 3, and 1 up. That's my origin. This point is this one right here. This point, 1, 2, 3, 1 up, right there. See how it's 2 spaces from the origin? This one is also 2 spaces vertically, just like that. And this one, 1, 2, 3, 1 up. So this point moves here because of the 3 spaces and 1 up. And then you do your graph. And we can't really move or know where above that because it's Again, I said it's twice as much. Negative 16 plus moving it one space up. That's why you got the 15. So somewhere like that, if you notice, with the table, we get the same thing. Negative 31, negative 31. I do want to apologize for the long video. I tried to give you many examples, but at the same time I was comparing the mother, using the mother graph and the table, so that made it a little bit longer. Please support our channel by giving us a thumbs up, subscribing around here. This is the link to the entire unit, and here is the next lesson. Now you're able to do 5.7 and have fun.